Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I want you to lean in because what I'm about to share can flip your world in just 3 days. Imagine this. You wake up tomorrow morning and for the next 72 hours you are intentionally speaking to yourself differently. Not just the lip service version, the deep internal dialogue, because your inner voice isn't a bystander to your results, it is your results. I want you to ask yourself, what am I telling myself right now? What stories am I repeating each morning, each night, when no one else is listening? Because those stories are carving your future right now. Over the next 3 days, you're going to become your own coach. You're going to monitor yourself, walk like you monitor your phone screen time. You're going to catch when you say, I can't. What if, maybe later? You'll stop, you'll flip the script, you'll tell yourself, I will, I choose, I am ready. And here's the key. When you change what you say to yourself, you change what you believe. And when you believe differently, you act differently. Doors open, opportunities show up. But you have to talk to yourself like you mean it. Not just words conviction, not just hope action day 1. You'll become aware, listen to your self-talk, write it down. Day 2, you'll interrupt the negative, replace it with your new narrative. Day 3, you begin to embody it. You don't just speak new words, you live them. This is about activating a legacy mindset, not short-term hustle, not quick fixes. The person you're becoming is one who doesn't whisper doubts, they declare vision. They don't wait for the perfect moment, they say I'm ready now. They don't shrink in the face of challenge, they grow through it. So are you ready to change your story in 3 days? Because I'm ready to see this transformation happen. Shift your self-talk. Shift your life. The power of self-talk is the foundation of transformation. You can't build confidence, success, or peace if your inner voice keeps tearing down the walls you're trying to build. Every breakthrough starts with a sentence you whisper to yourself in silence. Every limitation you've carried was planted by a word you accepted as truth. Your internal dialogue isn't background noise, it's the script your life is reading from. The way you talk to yourself determines the level you operate on. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to the standard of your self-talk. The truth is, your mind believes everything you say to it, even the lies. If you tell yourself you're not good enough, your mind will find evidence to prove it. If you tell yourself you're built for greatness, your mind will find a way to create it. That's how powerful self-talk is. It programs your reality. You can't outwork a mind that's sabotaging you. You can't move forward if the voice inside you keeps pulling you backward. The world can celebrate you, but if you don't know how to celebrate yourself internally, you'll keep shrinking in rooms you were meant to lead in. When you understand the power of self-talk, you stop waiting for external validation. You realize your voice carries the authority to shape your identity. You don't need someone to tell you you're capable. You start declaring it yourself until your energy reflects it. The conversation inside your head becomes your training ground. Every word is a rep. Every affirmation is a set. Every thought is either building muscle or creating weakness. You become strong in silence before you ever become strong in public. Most people spend their lives talking themselves out of opportunities. They replay failure more than they replay vision. They repeat pain more than they repeat purpose, and that's why nothing changes. Because your mind is a garden, it doesn't care what you plant. It will grow whatever you water. You can water doubt or you can water discipline. You can water excuses or you can water excellence. It all depends on what you keep saying to yourself when nobody's watching. That inner voice, that silent conversation, is your most consistent companion. It's with you from the moment you wake up to the moment you close your eyes. So ask yourself, what's it saying? Is it pushing you forward or keeping you small? Is it feeding your faith or feeding your fear? You can't lie to your subconscious. It knows your patterns, but you can retrain it. You can rewire it. You can make it your greatest ally instead of your worst enemy. And the first step is awareness, catching that inner critic mid-sentence and replacing it with truth, not emotion. When you start to change your self-talk, you'll notice the world responding differently. Not because people suddenly believe in you, but because you finally do. Energy doesn't lie. People can feel when you walk in certain of who you are. You speak differently. You move differently. You stop chasing approval because you already have it within. Confidence isn't built in front of a crowd. It's built in the quiet moments when you choose to speak life into yourself instead of judgment. Every successful person you've ever admired mastered this one thing. They talked themselves into their vision long before the world recognized them. They didn't wait for applause. They didn't wait for permission. They kept repeating the words until they became reality. You can do the same, but you have to mean it. You have to speak from conviction, not just hope. The mind doesn't respond to wishful thinking, it responds to consistency. When your words and your actions align long enough, your identity shifts, and once your identity shifts, the results follow. So stop treating self-talk like some feel-good ritual. It's not about reciting affirmations, it's about rewriting identity. You're not saying words, you're casting blueprints. You're setting direction. Every time you say, I am capable, you're instructing your mind to find proof. Every time you say, I am done settling, you're cutting ties with limitation. Your language is leadership, and the one person you must learn to lead first is yourself. The moment you master that voice, you become unstoppable. Because it's not the obstacles outside of you that hold you back, it's the whispers within you that say you can't. Change those whispers and you change the outcome. Speak power and you'll walk in power. Speak growth and you'll attract growth. Speak faith and you'll move like it's already done. The power of self. Talk is not about pretending life is perfect. It's about training your focus. It's about commanding your mind to see potential when it wants to see problems. It's about choosing strength over self-pity. And when you do that consistently, your entire state changes your posture, your tone, your energy, your results. You begin to move as the person you've always known you could be. Because that's the truth, you've always been that person. You just needed to start talking like it 3 days. That's all it takes to start rewriting the way you see yourself, the way you think, the way you move through life. People underestimate how fast change can happen when you become fully intentional. They think transformation takes months, years, or a lifetime, but that's only true if you keep living on autopilot. The truth is, when you bring awareness, discipline, and focus together for just 3 days, everything begins to shift. The 3-day reset isn't about time, it's about intensity. It's about deciding that for the next 72 hours, you're no longer living as the version of you that tolerates average thoughts, average habits, or average words. This reset is your interruption to everything that's been holding you back. It's a pattern breaker. It's not a motivational challenge. It's a reintroduction to yourself. You're about to meet the version of you that's been buried under noise, fear, and overthinking. The person who was waiting for the right moment. The one who kept saying, tomorrow I'll change. No, it starts now, and it starts with awareness. Day 1 is not about doing, it's about noticing. You watch your mind the way a coach watches tape. You catch your habits in real time, the hesitation before you speak up, the excuses you whisper when you don't follow through, the doubts you let sit too long in your head. You write them down, not to judge yourself, but to see them clearly. Because what you can't see, you can't change. By the end of the first day, you'll realize how much power you've been giving away through unconscious thinking. You'll see how your self-talk shapes your mood, how your emotions dictate your decisions, how your patterns repeat not because you lack potential, but because you lack interruption. That's what day 1 is for, to wake you up to the conversations that have been controlling your destiny. Day 2 is when the real work begins. This is where awareness turns into action. Every time that old voice of limitation speaks up, you interrupt it. You don't entertain it, you replace it. You talk to yourself with authority. Not soft, uncertain words, powerful, intentional declarations. You catch the phrase, I can't, and you flip it to I will. You catch I don't know, and you replace it with I'll figure it out. You catch I'm not ready, and you shift it to I was made for this. You stop letting doubt lead the conversation. You take the mic back. This day will test you. Because the moment you start changing your self-talk, your mind will resist. It will try to drag you back into comfort. It will remind you of past failures, but that's how you know the reset is working. You're stretching past your old limits. Every time you choose the new voice over the old one, you're building a stronger mental framework. It's like training a muscle that's been weak for years. The pain you feel is growth. The discomfort is proof that something new is forming inside you. By the time you reach day 3, you start to feel a shift in your energy. You're no longer forcing yourself to think differently. It's beginning to happen naturally. The voice inside your head starts sounding like your ally instead of your enemy. You begin to act like someone who expects to win. And this isn't arrogance, it's alignment. You've reminded your mind who's in charge. You've taken back the narrative. You'll notice that your posture changes, your words have more weight, your focus is sharper. That's not coincidence, that's identity catching up with intention. What was once forced becomes flow, and when you experience that, you'll realize the power of small windows of time, because transformation doesn't need decades, it needs decision. 3 days of radical awareness, interruption, and redirection can ignite a fire that changes the next 30 years of your life. But here's the key: once those 3 days are done, you don't stop. You build from there. You use it as a foundation. You remind yourself what it felt like to live deliberately, not reactively. You carry that awareness into every conversation, every morning routine, every challenge. The 3-day reset isn't meant to be a phase, it's a recalibration of your mindset. It's the proof that you can take control of your state at any time, and when life hits, because it will, you go back to those 3 days, you restart the process, you don't spiral, you reset, because now you know the formula: awareness, replacement, embodiment. That's the rhythm of growth. That's how legacies are built, not by waiting for the perfect moment, but by mastering short, powerful moments that redefine who you are. 3 days of discipline, 3 days of honesty. 3 days of speaking to yourself with the respect you've been craving from the world. That's all it takes to start the shift. Not because magic happens in 72 hours, but because your focus becomes unshakable. And once your focus changes, your direction does too. You realize you never needed more time, you just needed a reset. You can't rewrite your future if you keep repeating the same story from your past. Every limitation you live under isn't built from reality, it's built from narrative. The words you've been using to describe yourself have become the walls you live inside. And here's the truth most people never face. Your story isn't holding you back. Your version of it is. You've told it so many times that you've started to believe it's permanent. But the moment you change the language, you change the power it has over you. Replacing limiting narratives begins when you stop mistaking memory for identity. What happened to you isn't who you are. The setbacks, the rejection, the mistakes, they're chapters, not definitions. You are not the story that broke you, you're the one who's still standing. But as long as you keep telling yourself, I always mess things up, I'm not good at this, this is just who I am, you'll stay in the same loop. Your words are permission slips to your mind. If you keep signing them with limitation, your mind will keep obeying. The first step is awareness. You've got to start catching the hidden sentences that shape your behavior. Every time you face something hard, listen to the voice that shows up. Does it say, this always happens to me? Does it whisper, I'm not built for this? That voice is your old identity trying to survive. It's the part of you that's addicted to the familiar, even when the familiar hurts. You've got to confront it. You can't replace a narrative you refuse to question. When you finally face it, you'll realize that most of your limitations were taught, not chosen. Maybe someone once told you that you weren't capable, that you were too quiet, too different, too late, too much, and somewhere along the way, you started echoing their words as your own. But what if you stopped repeating those old scripts? What if you stopped being the narrator of your pain and became the author of your potential? That's the shift. You don't erase the story, you rewrite the meaning. Replacing limiting narratives isn't about pretending everything's perfect. It's about taking ownership of interpretation. You can say that failure proved I'm not good enough, or you can say that failure trained me for my next win. Both statements come from the same event, but only one unlocks growth. You have to decide which lens to keep using. Every moment gives you two choices: repeat the old story or release it. The words you attach to your experiences are shaping your future in real time. Tell yourself you're stuck, and you'll stop looking for exits. Tell yourself you're learning, and every obstacle becomes a classroom. Tell yourself you're behind, and you'll live in scarcity. Tell yourself you're in process, and you'll move with patience and power. The story doesn't change the circumstance. It changes your capacity to face it. You replace limiting narratives by introducing truth louder than doubt. You start saying things that stretch your identity instead of shrinking it. You start speaking like someone who knows their potential is still unfolding. I'm not there yet, but I'm growing. I'm not broken, I'm building. I'm not lost, I'm being redirected. You talk like someone who's becoming, not someone who's finished. Because that's what this process is, a continuous becoming. Here's what most people don't realize. When you change your internal language, your brain starts reorganizing around it. You literally rewire your thinking patterns. Every time you replace a limiting sentence with an empowering one, you're training your brain to expect strength instead of struggle. You're not just motivating yourself, you're conditioning your identity. And once your identity shifts, your behavior follows naturally. You don't have to force confidence, it becomes your new default. But replacing narratives takes commitment. It's not a one-time declaration, it's a daily discipline. You'll catch yourself slipping into old thoughts, and that's okay, that's how awareness grows. The key is not perfection, it's consistency. Every time you choose the new story, you weaken the old one. Over time, that inner voice that once held you back starts sounding different. It becomes your ally. It starts reminding you of your capability instead of your flaws. That's the power of repetition done with intention. This process isn't about who you were, it's about who you're becoming. The old version of you might have survived by playing small, but the next version of you thrives by speaking power. You stop asking, what if I fail, and start declaring, what if I fly? You stop saying, this always goes wrong, and start affirming, this time I'll make it right. You stop hiding behind stories of fear and start standing in stories of faith. Because when you replace limiting narratives, you don't just change your mindset, you change your atmosphere. People start treating you differently because you treat yourself differently. Opportunities that once intimidated you start aligning with you. Confidence stops being something you perform and becomes something you are. You'll look back one day and realize it wasn't luck that changed your life, it was language. You stopped repeating the script of doubt and started writing the language of destiny. And that's when everything begins to shift. Because the words you speak aren't just sound, they're signals. And when you start sending the right ones, the universe, your mind, and your spirit all respond the same way. They start to rise. Momentum doesn't start with motion, it starts with decision. Habits in motion are what happen when you stop waiting to feel ready and start acting from intention. Every day, your life is being built by invisible patterns: what you do, how you think, what you tolerate, what you repeat. Those habits become your identity in motion. They are the proof of what you believe about yourself. You can't think your way into greatness, you act your way there, and those actions, repeated with purpose, become your habits, the architecture of your transformation. Habits in motion are not about doing everything perfectly. They're about doing something consistently. The smallest step done deliberately carries more power than the biggest plan left undone. The people who change their lives aren't the ones who dream the loudest, they're the ones who move the quietest, every day, without applause, without permission. They know progress doesn't need to be seen to be significant. You don't need the world to notice your movement for it to matter. You just need to keep moving. The secret to unstoppable growth is rhythm, not speed. Rhythm, because rhythm sustains what motivation can't. Motivation will get you started. Rhythm will keep you going. Habits in motion build that rhythm. They carry you through days when discipline feels heavy and purpose feels far. They're the invisible engine behind every transformation story you admire. The ones who rise don't wait for inspiration. They've built systems that move even when emotions don't cooperate. That's the difference between trying and becoming. Every habit has a voice. The way you spend your morning speaks for you. The thoughts you allow speak for you. The standards you set speak for you. You teach the world how to treat you by the consistency of your own behavior. When your actions align with your words, you create integrity, and integrity builds momentum. The problem is, most people start with intensity and quit before consistency. They burn out because they chase results instead of rhythm. But real growth isn't about how fast you move, it's about how long you stay in motion when no one's clapping. Habits in motion don't need drama, they need direction. You set the tone by deciding what you'll no longer negotiate with yourself about. You create rules of alignment, things that are non-negotiable because they reflect who you've chosen to become. You get up early not because it's easy, but because it's identity. You show up to your goals not because you feel like it, but because that's who you are now. That's the mindset of mastery when the habit takes over and effort becomes instinct. But here's the thing, before habits move you forward, they'll try to test your commitment. You'll face resistance. You'll feel your old patterns pulling you back into comfort. The mind loves familiarity more than progress, so it will whisper lies like you can skip today, or it's not working. That's the voice of your old self fighting for survival. Ignore it, because every time you push past that resistance, you strengthen your identity as a finisher, and that's how you start to trust yourself again. Trust is built through repetition. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your confidence grows. Every time you break one, your belief weakens. That's why small wins matter. They might look insignificant to the world, but internally they're rewiring your entire system. Each act of discipline tells your mind, I'm someone who follows through. Over time, that truth becomes unshakable. You start walking differently, thinking differently, and expecting differently because your habits have proven what your words used to promise. Habits in motion are how you create evidence of who you're becoming. You don't need to convince yourself you're powerful. Your habits will do that for you. You don't need to keep saying you're committed. Your consistency will say it louder. This is how transformation becomes permanent, when who you are and what you do finally match, when your energy no longer depends on emotion but on intention. That's when discipline turns into peace. Most people wait for the right conditions to start. They want clarity before they commit, but the truth is, clarity comes through commitment. You move first, and then the path reveals itself. Motion creates momentum, and momentum reveals direction. Stop waiting for perfect timing. Start building perfect habits. Because the longer you wait, the more your potential sits still. You can't steer a parked car, you've got to get it rolling. Your habits are either keeping your life on pause or setting it in motion. You decide which story you're writing. The future doesn't belong to those who want it most. It belongs to those who move toward it daily. Step by step, word by word, action by action, your habits are already telling your story. So make sure they're speaking the truth you want to live. Keep moving, keep showing up, keep building even when no one's watching. Because one day, you'll wake up and realize it wasn't one massive breakthrough that changed your life. It was the quiet power of habits in motion that turned your potential into proof. Legacy isn't a word you earn by accident. It's a decision, a way of showing up long before anyone recognizes you. It's about living in such a way that the echoes of your choices outlast the moment, the applause, and even your presence. Legacy mindset is not about trophies, titles, or recognition. It's about the invisible architecture of your influence. It's the way you carry yourself when no one's watching, the impact of the energy you bring into every room, every conversation, every challenge. It's about aligning who you are today with the life you want remembered tomorrow. Activating a legacy mindset begins with perspective. Most people live in cycles of comfort, convenience, and immediate satisfaction. They chase outcomes without thinking about the mark they're leaving. They focus on results instead of resonance. But when you think in terms of legacy, every decision carries weight. Every action is a signal to the person you're becoming. You start asking yourself questions that cut through distractions. How will this matter 5 years from now? Will this action add to the story I want to tell? Am I building or am I settling? That shift in questioning changes the quality of your life. It forces intentionality. A legacy mindset is powered by consistency. It's easy to act big when the spotlight is on. It's easy to talk courage when fear isn't testing you. But true legacy is built in repetition, in the ordinary moments where no one sees the effort. It's waking up before the world demands it, pushing past fatigue, showing respect when it's inconvenient, delivering excellence when no one is monitoring. These are the unseen investments that compound over time. The world will eventually notice, but the mindset doesn't depend on acknowledgement. It depends on standards. You become loyal to your own principles instead of temporary approval. When you activate this mindset, your focus shifts from self to service. Legacy isn't just about what you achieve for yourself. It's about the influence you leave behind, the people you lift, the lessons you teach, the environments you elevate. That's where the permanence of legacy lies. You start asking yourself, how can my actions create value beyond this moment? And not for applause, not for fame, not for validation, but because excellence is the language of those who intend to leave something lasting. You understand that every interaction, no matter how small, is an opportunity to transmit intention, discipline, and belief. This mindset also requires courage. Legacy isn't safe. It's not built on conformity or playing small to avoid resistance. It's built on stepping into the uncomfortable zones where growth and risk intersect. It's about making decisions that honor your future self even when the present self protests. The people who think in legacy terms are willing to sacrifice convenience today to protect impact tomorrow. They understand that short-term comfort often costs long-term fulfillment, and they act anyway. That courage becomes contagious, and the ripple effect of it reaches far beyond what you see. Self-mastery is the engine behind legacy activation. You can't leave a mark on the world if your mind, habits, and character aren't aligned. You have to control your inner dialogue, take ownership of your choices, and refuse to let external circumstances dictate your energy. The legacy mindset demands responsibility, the kind that doesn't shift blame, that doesn't excuse failures, that doesn't wait for external permission to act. You become the architect of your influence. Every word, every action, every decision is a brushstroke on the canvas of the life you'll leave behind. Another pillar of this mindset is vision. Legacy thinkers operate with horizon thinking. They don't live for the next moment, they live for the impact that stretches decades ahead. They see beyond the now, beyond the praise, the setbacks, the trends, and they make choices in alignment with a story that's larger than immediate gratification. Vision fuels discipline. Vision fuels persistence. Vision allows you to rise above distraction and mediocrity because you are tethered to something unshakable. Finally, activating a legacy mindset is about embodying presence. It's not enough to plan, speak, or intend. You must live it. Your influence grows when your actions match your declarations, when your energy communicates certainty, and when your consistency proves your commitment. People remember how you made them feel, not how loud you spoke. Legacy is built in moments of alignment, in actions that echo integrity, in energy that inspires, in discipline that endures. When you start thinking in legacy terms, you realize that the world is responding not to what you say you want, but to the level of person you are becoming. Legacy is invisible until it's inevitable. It's quiet work, relentless persistence, and unshakable belief in the impact of your choices. Once this mindset is activated, you stop chasing temporary recognition and start building permanent influence. Every day becomes an opportunity to add value, to elevate, to stretch, to lead. Every challenge is a chance to grow, every victory is a platform to amplify, and every interaction is a seed for the future. Legacy mindset is the understanding that your life is bigger than the next win, bigger than the next validation, bigger than the noise of the moment. It's choosing to act in alignment with a standard that transcends time. It's a discipline of the mind, body, and spirit. It's the energy you leave behind, the inspiration you ignite, and the example you set. Once you operate at this level, everything you do carries weight. You are no longer living for yourself alone. You are building something that outlasts you, something others can follow, something that will echo long after you've left the room. That is the power of thinking in legacy terms, and that is how influence becomes immortal. 3 days from now, you will not be the same. The voice in your head will have new power. Your self-image will have leveled up. And your actions will begin aligning with the legacy you're here to build. Remember, it's not what others tell you. It's what you say to you in silence, in the mirror, beneath the surface. Change that and you change everything. Stand up, speak up, step into your voice. Your legacy begins now.